Så jag har blandat Jean Paul Gaultier Scandal pour Homme Absolu, and I'm gonna open this up and give you my first impressions of it. I really like the OG Scandal pour Homme EDT and Scandal Le Parfum, so I'm hoping this is another banger. I will be sharing my thoughts on what it smells like, usage, mass appeal and more. But before we begin, please drop a like on this video and make sure you subscribe and make sure you comment with your thoughts on Scandal Absolu. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Comment. So let's open it up. So some of the notes in Jean Paul Gaultier Scandal pour Homme Absolu are Mirabelle Plum, Chestnut and Sandalwood. This is going to be exciting. First, like always, up in the air. Okay, definitely, yeah, this is just up in the air and the very first spray. But I mean, come on. Scandal pour Homme Absolu definitely has the Scandal DNA from the previous ones. So let's try on skin as well. So Scandal pour Homme Absolu on skin opens up with what is to me quite a prominent dose of fruitiness and sweetness. So when I sprayed this up in the air, the first thing that I thought of was that caramel-like kind of sweetness from the OG. On skin, it doesn't feel as caramel-ish like the OG, more like a mix of fruity sweetness. So this is supposed to have Mirabelle Plum, and I'm pretty sure that I don't have a lot of fragrances with Mirabelle Plum. But here's the thing, the fruitiness here, even though I don't have a lot of fragrances with Mirabelle Plum in it, this in a way feels quite familiar. So this, the opening at least, is to my nose like a mix of fruitiness and sweetness. The more it heads into the mids, the more intensely fruity it gets. And this is where I feel the sort of a caramel-like kind of sweetness, like a hint of it from the OG, is coming through. So either I'm wrong or the notes are not 100% correct. And the mids is also where you can feel that sandalwood coming through. And that sandalwood really reminds me of the Le Parfum. So the mids to me, primarily intensely fruity, quite sweet with that sandalwood coming through. I mean, fruity, sweet and a bit woody. This is really, really nice. But it definitely reminds me of something, and that something is like a mix of the Le Parfum and the OG, but also something else that is not within this line. So the dry line is where I feel things has changed quite a bit with Scandal Absolu. By now, this to my nose is primarily woody, so you have that sandalwood, a prominent dose of sandalwood. The fruitiness is still there, even though it has softened up. It's also a bit sweet, but I do feel that the sweetness that I picked up in the opening and in the mids also has softened up. The chestnut is by now very, very noticeable. There's also something softly spicy going on. No idea where that thing is coming from. And once again, I do feel probably that the notes are not 100% correct, because in the OG, there was an aromatic touch to it, and I swear I'm picking up a hint of that in Absolu as well. So the dry down, at least based on my first impressions of it, is almost like a fusion of the Le Parfum and the OG. So like hints of the OG together with the woodiness of the Parfum, but with a different kind of sweetness that instead goes in a more fruity direction instead of the vanilla that you got in the Parfum and instead of the caramel that you got in the EDT. However, once again, I do feel that there are hints of something caramel-ish in this that reminds me of the EDT. So here are my initial thoughts on the vibe of Scandal Absolu. So if the OG is this sort of a flirty player, and if the Parfum is the one that is slightly more sort of mature, then I'm gonna put this almost on the same level as the Le Parfum, in that it does feel a bit more sort of a mature compared to the EDT. but with a big dose of sexiness to it. So flirty and sexy for sure. So here are my initial thoughts on compliments and mass appeal. This whole line, the EDT and the Parfum, are compliment getters. This is a compliment getting line. And the new Scandal Absolu is definitely a compliment getter kind of scent. So here are my initial thoughts on the performance of it. I do need to wear this more. However, based on how it oozes from my skin and how it lingers in the air around me, this sort of feels like the Parfum feels when I spray it on. So definitely something that has quite good performance. So here are my initial thoughts on usage. So like seasons and occasions. Even though this is slightly different compared to the Parfum and the EDT, when it comes to its depth and warmth, this definitely reminds me quite a bit of the Parfum. So in that sense, I'm gonna use it pretty much the same as I use the Parfum. So Scandal Absolu to me leans primarily towards fall, winter and spring. However, this is definitely something I'm gonna try wearing on summer night outs as well. When it comes to occasions, I mean, this is a sexy and flirty men's fragrance. So definitely when you are going out or for date nights. But I mean, you can definitely wear this to work or school as well. So who's Scandal Absolu for? I think that anyone who loves this line will probably love Scandal Absolu as well. But if you love the woodiness of the Parfum and think you would enjoy that woodiness together with a bit of fruity sweetness, then you will most likely enjoy this. Because Absolu, to me, sort of a simplified, is like it's built on the foundation of the Parfum with that sort of a Scandal DNA, but with a different kind of sweetness and with that sort of a fruitiness on top. If you absolutely dislike fruitiness in fragrances, and if you absolutely dislike sweetness in fragrances, and if you hated both of these, then there's definitely a chance you will dislike this as well. So let's quickly talk about some of the alternatives to Scandal Absolu. The two main alternatives are definitely going to be found in this line. So Scandal Le Parfum for sure, if you prefer something that is not fruity sweet and instead more focused on woodiness and vanilla. Scandal EDT if you want a big dose of sweetness together with a big dose of something sort of a caramel-ish that is balanced up in what I think a fantastic way with something aromatic. And for something a bit sort of a different, I'm thinking of Azzaro, the Most Witty, the Eau de Parfum Intense. That's a fantastic mix of spiciness, sweetness and woodiness. So let's talk a bit about price. I paid slightly less than $100 for 50 ml. Now, it's been some time since I bought these two, so I can't remember exactly what I paid for them, but this definitely feels like the most expensive one compared to these two. This is definitely not a cheapie. So here are my final thoughts based on my first impressions of Scandal Absolu. I definitely like it. This gives me that Scandal DNA that I really like, but slightly different. And in a way, it feels like this was quite a safe move by Jean Paul Gaultier, because it really feels like they created this based on the Parfum, the woodiness of the Parfum, with that sort of a core Scandal DNA with hints of the EDT. But they changed and added the fruity sweetness instead. So I mean, the change they did isn't massive, but I think it's different enough, and with still sort of retaining that fantastic Scandal DNA that makes this a good release. Now, how much do I like it? I really don't know. I know I like it a lot, but do I like it more than the Parfum and more than the EDT? I will definitely do a comparison of the Scandal Absolu, Scandal Le Parfum and the OG EDT. But I do need to spend more time with the new one and really compare these three. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you drop a like on this video so that you don't miss out on my comparison. So yeah, I definitely like Scandal Absolu. Now, I would absolutely love to know how you feel about Scandal Absolu. Do you like it? Do you feel it's mid? Do you love it? Make sure you share your thoughts on it in the comments below. Please drop a like on this video. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe and make sure you check out the videos over there, and I'll see you in the next one.